This is Stephanie with Hightower Stitching. Today I'd like to share one of the ways that I make labels, fabric labels, for my quilts and baby blankets and other projects. And with this I use my computer, the Word program, and purchase fabric sheets. When I use the purchase fabric sheets, my goal is to use either the whole page or to use half of the page, and then later I can turn it around and use the other page in another time. And my goal is also to have my label, the main part of my label, but have enough room around the outside of it that I can turn it under or do a good top stitch. Computer, I'm using just a Windows 7. I'm using Word. The other thing you need is an inkjet printer and then some purchased fabric sheets. And you can buy those in cream or white. But I want to say to you to be sure that you get those that you can heat set your pictures or your prints, and then the kind that doesn't need Scotch Guard put on it. So here's the first example of where we're going to go. This one has got a frame in it and then the text box inside. I've opened up a blank page in the Word document, and the first thing that I do is go up to the layout at the top and find my margins because I want to use up all of the fabric page. So I go over to the margins and then I go down to narrow and click that one on. That gets me set for using the paper. Then I go up to the insert and choose table. The table that I like the best is doing a 3x4. So I go over there and I color in 3 and then go down 4. And that gets the basic part. Now this still won't get it for me. So I'm going to go over to the right hand side at the bottom of my table and I'm going to pull the page down till I get near the bottom of the page. And I've made some nice boxes. I may have not gotten all the way to the bottom this time, but that's usually what happens. And then, so that I don't forget, because I don't want those black lines to show up when I get finished, I go back to home and I travel over to where you have the part that outlines and does borders for your box. Open it up, travel all the way down to no border, and that'll take out your border. But there I didn't highlight the whole page, so I better go back and highlight the whole page and then hit no border. And you're going to see how nice you can see it here, but you're not going to see it when you get ready to print. If I slide over and go down to print, you'll see the page looks blank, but you still have the guidelines. All right, now I'm going to go back up to the insert, and you can insert frames or borders, and those will give you the ones that are surrounded. And so I was going to do that first. There are two that I usually use, and two types. So I'm going to go up to my insert, and it's going to say online pictures. And my word is going to be frame today, F-R-A-M-E-S. And see what pops up. And there are all kinds of frames. And that is the first one that I chose, the one that we had. Now, when you see it, it's going to be really huge. When you hit insert, it's going to be big. And that one turned out pretty good because it's going right in that box. I'm going to take it smaller so it fits in the box. That looks about in a little bit. You just sort of play with it. Then you can still mix it, do it later if you don't see it. They have the disclaimer at the bottom, that little box. You can click it on and delete, and it's gone, and that gives me a little more room to pull my... All right, so that's great. Now I'm going to go back up to insert, and I'm going to go over to the text box across there. Open up your text box, and you want to draw your own text box. That's at the bottom of that list. Travel over here. And insert your box. This is, when I travel home, I see that this is 11, and that's pretty small. And you just play with that in your computer, and you can still change the size of your box, but I'll just make that a 12 and put in any message that you want. Made by, made especially for you. And then you always leave yourself a place for a date, and you can write that in later, because that's one of the things I'm doing. I'm making these ahead of time, and some of them are very generic, and then I can just write the date in on those. But now, if you were to look at the print box, if you open up print and look at it, you'll see that that frame shows up. So the next thing we want to do is get rid of that text box frame. And for that one, you'll want to travel over to format on the top bar, and then go back over to the side, and you'll see shape outline. And when you open that up, go down to no outline, and that'll take away your box. You see a little dotted line, but when you look back at the print, you won't see it again. And once you get one that you really like, you can go over to your outline. You can right click, copy, come over to your next box, right click, and paste. And you can do that if you wanted the whole page to be that particular one. You could do that same page. You could copy your box and put it in there, or you could open a new box and write a new message inside. One of the things that I do is you can't really get an idea of size with this. So let's say that you've done a couple of them. Let's paste one more just to go over, go right click and paste. And I've got 3. It's not in the right place, but that doesn't matter. So I'm going to go over to print. And now you can see where these are going to fit. Now, if you think this is not enough room to be able to fold in, then and make a hem, then you could take and move your box over again and make it larger. Here's one that I worked on yesterday, and that's got a few of the notes about removing your text box. And then these were ones that I added. Now this time I just went out, and instead of getting a border or a frame, I asked it for flowers, or I asked it for a shape, like if you were going to make a label for a baby's blanket. And so you could make a variety of those inside, and there again, look back at print to see your sizes where they are. When I'm putting them on my quilt, well, before that, you want to make sure that you follow the directions on the back of your fabric sheet, because usually it tells you to let it dry for about at least 10 minutes, then give it a cool rinse. This doesn't take long, and blot it dry, and then do some heat pressing with no steam. That's where I was trying to get to, without steam. And there's another press in there at the very beginning after you've done your 10 minutes. So be sure that you read those directions. I mark them so I can follow. And I've had really good luck with that. And then I'll use one of those pieces of webbing to put behind it after I've cut out the one I want to use, to make it stay on the quilt as I get ready to go ahead and go around and do the top stitching on that. And when you have a nice collection of these, some of them can be very small. I have some that are just a strips that says made especially for you by Stephanie. And that's the way it is, and it's just small. This is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching. This is my way of trying to make labels, one way for making labels on the back of my quilts and pocketbooks and other projects. Thank you for watching. If you like this, please hit like and subscribe.